Here we are on Wednesday, February 9th, and this will be part 5 in our series on cultivating being fully aware. And today we will be concentrating on this idea of showing up and the notion that how we show up matters. That how we show up has an impact on our well-being. This phrase showing up, as I'm using it here, refers to our thoughts or attitudes, our spoken words, and our actions. And we all know that actions have consequences. There's so interconnectedness is so powerful that once we show up in a particular way, it makes a difference. It has an impact. And it's on both ourselves as well as on others. So you might take just a moment and think about how you have been showing up so far this morning and what impact how your showing up has had on yourself and on others. Just so far today. To make all of this pretty straightforward and accessible, I'll oversimplify showing up by suggesting we can divide it into two big buckets. One bucket is that we show up merely out of default, out of reactivity, out of impulse. And the other big bucket is that we show up based upon intention, that we've taken the time and effort and energy to formulate an intention. When we show up out of default or impulse, it's driven by instinct and habit. And it's often part of this aspect of being human that we've talked about so often. Even though life is hard, we are inclined to make it harder. And when we show up out of impulse or default, in all likelihood, the instincts behind it, the habit behind it, is making it harder. So if I think about my own circumstances, my own behavior, I've mentioned before that I often get into these places where I can identify 25 things that are wrong in probably under 2 minutes. And I was noticing my tendency to do that out on the walk this morning. And I was also thinking about something that happened, I don't think it was last evening, it was the evening before. As you know, we've been, our 14-year-old dog has been struggling with some things. He's pretty much settled down. He's on the wonder drug of steroids, prednisone, which has got him pretty much back to normal. But the other night I was sitting on the sofa and starting to watch something on TV, and Kay was walking over and she made some exclamation. She said, "Uh-oh," and I knew she was walking right by the dog's bed. And so my inclination, my instinct and habit were to be very concerned that something was wrong, that I had some responsibility in it, and that I needed to jump up and get over there and fix it right away. Well, it turned out that it was nothing. She misinterpreted something. And so she had her own reaction, default way of showing up, and then I added to it. Fortunately, my words and my behavior were more focused on me. I was not explicitly or even implicitly directing them at her. But as I was thinking about examples of impulse and default, this is one that came up for me. And this is so full of the instincts of protecting myself and habit. The habit that arose when I was young of living in a household where things needed to be a particular way in a particular time, and worrying that I might have been the one who screwed something up and needed to fix it right away. Here we are 70 years later, still dealing with it. So a little bit more about all of this. Instinct is, we can track to 2 of the 4 conditions of being human that are beyond our control. Condition 1, how our brains and nervous systems have evolved over millions of years, especially to protect ourselves. Condition 2, our particular genetic makeup. I come from a long line of reactive people. It's in my genes. Then there's the habit part, which is conditions 3 and 4. Condition 3 is the experiences we've had, especially those when we were young, and the social and cultural norms. All of those things shape us. And I think it's a multiplicative kind of function, instinct times habit. It's a product. And then that product is also influenced by whichever of the 3 P's might be in place. Impermanence, not perfect, taking things personally. So here I was with the instinct to protect myself, these habits from when I was young, multiplied times each other, then multiplied by taking it personally. And I had the reaction. This is how it works. This is how powerful impulse and default are. It's so easy to get lost in and controlled by reactivity, by a particular emotion that has been prompted in the moment, or to be affected by indifference. This way we have, this unskillful way we have of trying to protect ourselves by numbing out or saying, doesn't affect me, I'm not going there, in some way or another. And all of this is what is referred to as unconscious incompetence, which our mindfulness language would say we are unaware, unconscious, and unskillful, incompetent. And when we are in this place of default, we are actually separated from the present moment. It's the instinct and the habit that have taken over, not the present moment experience. In the present moment experience, I merely would have said to Kay, what are you concerned about? And without jumping up, without having this strong internal reaction that was tied to all these other factors that are not relevant to the present moment. So let's go ahead and do a practice around all of this. So beginning by taking 2 or 3 deep breaths, and the long, slow out breath, letting go of whatever extra energy or tension has accumulated. Dropping the shoulders, settling into the surface we're sitting on, and softening all over. Really feeling the softening. Usually we go directly to the breath in the next step. This morning, however, I'd like to invite you to choose among at least 3 possible anchors for your attention. The breath, of course, is one. A second anchor might be physical sensations. Whatever you're feeling in your body, taking a moment to just do a gentle body scan and notice whatever sensation is present. Or the third anchor might be sounds. Turning your attention to listening right now. What sounds are you noticing? Perhaps it's something mechanical in the house, or somebody else moving around, or the wind outside. Choosing one of these 3 anchors, breath, sensations, sounds, and even if you usually use your breath, you might take a chance here and experiment with sensations or sounds. And directing your attention toward the anchor you've selected. Being in observer role, simply noticing what's happening with this anchor. How the breath or sensation or sound arises, is present, and fades away. And how your attention is then drawn to the next way your anchor shows up. And of course, it's likely that your attention has wandered off maybe even more than once with one of these thoughts that your mind generates at the rate of 60,000 a day. It's okay. It's how it is. And we simply gently bring our attention back to our anchor. Concentrating on our present moment experience. allowing this experience to be exactly as it is. Noticing the difference between realizing your intention of directing your attention to an anchor, the present moment experience, and the default experience of your attention wandering off with a thought or emotion. Experiencing the difference without judgment. You're merely a scientist observing the difference. This is a practice for cultivating being fully aware. The reflection question this morning is around this experience of showing up, of our thoughts, attitudes, spoken words, and actions. And contrasting for yourselves the difference between being in default mode of showing up and being in intention mode.